used to on Wednesdays talk about matters of aqidah, matters of belief. So to continue the same subject. And the aqidah is the foundation of the deen. And we are in need of it at all times. And if people that are going through different feelings or difficult times or whatever, with the aqidah, with the proper aqidah, with the proper belief, there's no difficulties whatsoever for the believers. I would like to talk about something specific, and that is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ related to the month that we're in, and how we would see that something very specific like this really covers every aspect of the deen, and it goes back to the foundation of our deen. We are in the month of Safar. We are in the month of Safar. And the month of Safar, which is after Muharram, is a month that the Arabs in Jahiliyyah used to have superstitious about this month. They would think that all the calamities and all the miseries comes in this month, the month of Safar. So they used to feel bad and bad feelings and things like this during this month, and they would cancel their plans and their trips and so on because they think that evil things will happen. So because of that, the Prophet ﷺ said in the authentic hadith, لا عدوى ولا طيرة ولا هامة ولا سفر, which means there's no adwa, we'll explain what that means, and there's no طيرة, what that means, and there's no hama and there's no safar. There's no safar. That means there's no bad omens or this or that or safar. It's one of the months of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It has nothing to do with bad things to happen or good things to happen, because this is something that affects the foundation of the aqidah of the people. This is the ways of jahiliyyah, the ways of ignorance. They feel other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether it means that does not exist, or whether it means that it exists. This is one of the characteristics of the disbelievers. And therefore the believers, they are the opposite. They feel Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. So when the Prophet ﷺ, he said, La adwa, that's the first part of the hadith. La adwa means there is no adwa, and adwa is when the disease is transferred from one person to the other. What do you call it in English? Transmitted diseases, right? Diseases are transmitted. This is something that happens, it's a fact of life. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made diseases to spread by transmitting from one person to the other. But the Prophet ﷺ said, La adwa. There is no adwa, there is no transmission of the diseases. The Prophet ﷺ did not deny the fact that diseases are transmitted from one person to the other, because he said in another hadith, alayhi salatu wassalam, fir min al-majdum firaraka min al-asad. Flee, run away very quickly, very fast from al-majdum. Al-majdum is the one that has that disease, skin disease that makes body parts falls. Run, and it's contagious. They have to isolate them and so on. He said, flee from the majdum the same way that you flee from a lion. Right? And he said, عليه الصلاة والسلام, لا يولد ممرض على مصح ولا يولد مصح على ممرض. He said, عليه الصلاة والسلام, let the one that is sick not to go to the one that is not sick, and let the one that is not sick not to go to the one that is sick, to protect them from having things to be transmitted. So the Prophet ﷺ is not denying that diseases can be transmitted. But the Prophet ﷺ is saying that this by itself is not the thing that causes the person to be sick. Everything is by the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not complicated or anything, but it's the main concept of how to deal with means in this life. That there are means, yes, but where these means are, we deal with it physically, but the hearts are settled that everything is by the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is by the decree of Allah. The virus does not move by itself, does not have this power that it creates its own actions, or it causes the diseases and so on. It's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made these things as means for diseases to come and so on. Like a person's, his death is at a certain time. And we know that life is limited and everybody has an ajal. Ajal is a specific time where once it comes, is by the breath. If his limit is certain amounts of breath in this life, once the last one comes, there's no more life for that person. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the means for that person to die by being killed. Right? So there's a killer that commits a crime and he killed someone. That killer did not take the life of the person in the way that he is not the one that decreed for the person when he's going to die. And that's why this killer, of course, will be punished and so on. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the death of that person, the means to it is in such a way. But the belief in the heart is, it's not like he missed a certain amount of life that was taken away from him, that he should have lived, but he didn't live. No. After it happened, we got to know that this is the life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed for that person. Everything is by the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we get to know the qadr of Allah after it's established, after it happens. But do we take the means? Of course we take the means. And we take the means, the permissible means, and the full measures of it, but the hearts are completely, again, comfortable and pleased with the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when the Prophet ﷺ said, La adwa, to clean and purify the hearts of the believers from what the people of Jahiliyyah, of ignorance, they have their hearts attached to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is basically the first sentence. La adwa wa la tiyara. Tiyara is superstitious, omens. When a person sees something and then he feels bad. Oh, this is going to happen or this is going to happen. Whether it's a day, like people would claim Friday the 13th or this or that, or seeing an owl or a black cat or whatever, people they make up things, right? And they don't feel good anymore, or not seeing anything. A person wakes up in the morning, he's supposed to travel, but he feels something inside. He cannot explain what it is, but he feels something bad is going to happen, so he won't travel. This is what the Prophet ﷺ said that this is shirk, by the way. Right? This is minor shirk if he believes or if he acts on it. Just the fact that he has some feelings, not physical means or something of danger for him or whatever. Of course, if he doesn't feel like traveling, he should not travel. But just for that to build actions on certain feelings, this is something that is forbidden. And the Arabs used to do that. And basically they used to even, the word tiyara is mentioned, the roots of it, from tara, from flying. Before a person would travel, he would take a bird and he would let it fly. If it goes to the right, that's a good sign, he will travel. If it goes to the left, he would feel that he's not going to travel, so he doesn't travel. Right? And Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he said something. He said, Tiyara shirk. Tiyara is shirk. وَمَا مِنَّا إِلَّا. He's narrating this from the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ said that in the hadith. الطيرة شرك. وَمَا مِنَّا إِلَّا وَلَكِنْ يُذْهِبُهُ التَّوَكُّلُ. He said, and all of us, there is no one of us, unless he would have this in him. Unless he would have this in him. Meaning that all of us as human beings, we get to have this sometimes. That we would feel sometimes superstitious or something, not superstitions, but bad feelings. Right? You don't feel good. You're about, again, in the morning, you don't feel like good because there's something, you feel like something bad is going to happen. So he said, all of us, we have this in us, but he said, what pushes it away is a tawakkul, to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means don't make that stop you from doing what is good. Because everything is decreed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you take the means and nothing is going to harm you, inshallah ta'ala, and if something happens, it's all by the decree of Allah. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, one time he was sitting with people and someone heard there was a ghurab, a crow that was screaming. And sometimes some people of ignorance, of course, when they see the crow, that's a bad omen, something bad is going to happen, or something like this. But this is a very specific incident that shows that many people do it today. And I would think that many of us heard this or did this even before. Abdullah ibn Abbas is sitting and a crow passes and he makes a loud noise. So a person sitting, he said, khayran. He said, good inshallah. Have you heard that before many times? you hear a noise, right? Or something happens. So you would say, of course, if a person feels superstitious, this is evil, this is shirk. But sometimes people would say, khayran inshallah, good inshallah. It's good inshallah. Right? Is there anything wrong with this? Doesn't sound like anything wrong. He said, khayran. Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said, la khayra wa la shar. He said to the man, it's not good or evil. What is this? What is the sound of the crow has to do with good or evil? Why did you say good? Because they feel something when they hear that noise. So they didn't want to say something bad is going to happen, so they would say, no, inshallah, something good. Right? So he said, there's no good and there's no evil. The sound of the crow has nothing to do with good or evil. So he corrected this man to make sure that the hearts are only attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the one that is the owner of all things and He's in control of all things. So la adwa wa la tiyara does not affect by itself this transmission of the diseases, the superstitious or feeling bad or so. Wala hama, the hama is basically the owl that people also would have bad feelings when they see it at night and things of that nature. They have all kinds of fairy tales about it. Wala safar, which is the month of Safar. There is nothing about the month of Safar. It's the month of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything is decreed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for people to stop being superstitious or feeling bad about things that has no basis to it whatsoever. This concept brings the issue of means and what things brings the fear in the hearts of the people. And I know that people with the news and everything, I don't like to talk about what's going on. But people feel bad, people feel worried, they have fears, which is all, inshallah, legitimate fears. And this is part of life. That people fear, but really what we should fear the most, of course, we should fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and fear the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it can be a reminder for all of us that fear is something that we cannot avoid whatsoever. Whoever thought that this life is a life of luxury and goodness and all kinds of good things till we die and then after this life the same way, it doesn't work this way. Life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it with fear and with all kinds of tests and miseries and so on. And it's mentioned in the Quran that it's not going to be maybe once in a while. He said, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ, which means level qasam here, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing that as if you say, by Allah, we will test you بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ. We will test you definitely by some fear, شيء من الخوف والجوع and hunger, ونقص من الأموال والأنفس والثمرات, and deficiency in wealth and life itself, death, and ثمرات and provisions. ولنبلونكم بشيء من الخوف والجوع ونقص من الأموال والأنفس والثمرات وبشر الصابرين, and give glad tidings to those who are patient. So patience is one of the acts of worship, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave glad tidings to those who are patient. And He informed them, whoever reads the Quran, he would see this is the reality of this life. It doesn't mean that a person lived for 20 years, 30 years at times of ease and so on, that it's going to continue that way. No, part of life is that there might be times of difficulties. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that decrees everything, and we are nothing but slaves of Allah. Yes, the believers, they have good expectations in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they think good about the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide them to be steadfast, to hold fast to the religion. If you look into the Quran, the stories of the prophets of Allah, they were tested and they were threatened. And the threats were much more severe than what people are making so much, magnifying things because of a word here or there. Of course, many of these things are not really real as people think it is, inshallah ta'ala. But imagine at the time of Musa alayhi salam on Fir'aun, and he was capable of doing so. What did he threaten Musa alayhi salam and his people? سَنُقَتِّلُ أَبْنَاءَكُمْ وَنَسْتَحْيِي نِسَاءَكُمْ. We will kill your children, right? And we will take your women to serve for us, right? And nobody can stop Fir'aun among the people. He claimed to be the Rabb of the Alameen. Who is in this world today that claims to be the Lord of the Alameen? And he would even issue such mandates or orders that he would kill all the offspring of Bani Israel, and you take all of the women to serve. What did Musa alayhi salam say to his people, and what did the people say? Musa alayhi salam, when Fir'aun said this, he said, قال موسى لقومه استعينوا بالله واصبروا. استعينوا بالله. Seek help from Allah and be patient. إن الأرض لله يورثها من يشاء من عباده. That the earth is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He inherits it for whoever He will subhanahu wa ta'ala from His slaves. وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Al-'aqiba, the outcome is for the muttaqeen. The end is for the muttaqeen, those who fear Allah, those who are dutiful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they said to Musa alayhi salam, قَالُوا أُذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِ أَنْ تَأْتِيَنَا وَبَعْدِ مَا جِئْتَنَا. We were harmed before you came to us, and we were harmed now too. قال عسى ربكم أن يهلك عدوكم ويستخلفكم في الأرض فينظر كيف تعملون. He said maybe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will destroy your enemy and make you established on the land to see how would you act. So the point here is that this is part of life. حسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون. So people think that they will be left to say we believe and they will be left like this. They will be tested as Allah, as this is the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you go through this, we'll find from every prophet to the other, they were tested with these levels, with these types, or even more matters of fear. But you see the strength that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them with their patience, with their yaqeen, certainty in the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with eliminating all of these, the attachment of the means in their hearts. Like the issue of that affects one's tawheed, with superstitions and so on. It's the same thing with every mean in this life. The one that created these means, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the only way to push away harm is to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. The really fearful thing is that when people do not get the right message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send on this ummah all kinds of fearful things. For what reason? This is by the mercy of Allah, so that this ummah repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seek forgiveness from Allah. It's all because of our own sins. Not everything we just need to explain it physically because of these people did this, therefore this happened. No, these things are, it's a very weak thing when a person only looks at the human beings. The believers, they look at the actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything that happens in this life is by the action of Allah. Right? And this is what the ulama, they call it, أن يشهد فعل الله. That a person would witness the actions of Allah. Everything is by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So why, whatever happens in the whole entire world for the ummah is happening? Why? Because this is the ummah that Allah chose to carry the final message. And they are not really holding fast to the message the way they ought to. Look at the situation of the ummah. Look at the Muslims in America, for example, as an example. Are we here for the sake of Allah, to make the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala superior? Is the concern of the hereafter, to hold fast on our religion? Or in general, it's the dunya, it's the materialistic things of this life that people are after. You know, if you say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, there is a responsibility that comes with it. And that is, the person has to carry this message. We are the final nation from the Prophet ﷺ, the nation that's supposed to convey the truth to the entire world. So they have to bear their responsibility and the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth in such a way that this will happen. So the fearful thing is when a person does not pay attention to this, does not see the actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and therefore people will panic, will fear other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Well, the importance here is for people to repent to Allah and to be dutiful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala afflict the believers with anything, whether it's a small, major, whether it's something is going to happen or nothing is going to happen, but definitely the fitan and the tribulations are decreed for that reason, for this ummah to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is sufficient for us to recite and to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But sometimes physical things has to happen for people to, by the mercy of Allah, to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when they see that all means fails. And this is also the way of the Quran. All the messengers of Allah, when they take all the means, permissible means, then they all fail. And this is to establish the tawheed. The more the calamities happens, the more people will turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, so that they will fulfill the purpose of their life in the most perfect way, and to cut all the leads to the means of this life. They will take the means, yes, but their hearts are only attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the owner of all things, and He is As-Sami', and He is Al-Basir, and He is Al-Alim. And what's coming ahead after this life is much more fearful than this life. What's going to happen at the moment of death? When a person sees the angels, whether it's the angels of mercy or the angels of punishment. And no one of us has been given this guarantee that he will see the angels of mercy. So this by itself brings so much fear in the hearts of the believers. If a person has the reality of this, nothing in this life will really concern him. The concern is at the moment of death. Are the angels of mercy will take my soul, or the angels of punishment? In the grave and the questioning in the grave and the punishment of the grave, there's punishment and there's delight. Who said that we will be given the delight in the grave? And the punishment in the hereafter, or in the grave, or the day of judgment, if you bring all the pain and all the suffering of all human beings, you put them together on one scale, and the punishment, or one punishment in the grave, for example, the one in the grave is far more than all of these pains that people go through in this life. And it's coming. These things are coming. It's ahead of us. It's something that we all have to face, the moment of death and what's beyond. And in the day of judgment. And then it's the everlasting joy, the everlasting misery. So the believers are not concerned about these things. Their hearts are concerned about pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we read the Quran, we would find this. The Prophet ﷺ was the most brave on earth. And the same thing with the companions of the Allah. And when a man came to the Prophet ﷺ, the hadith of Muslim and Ahmad, I don't want to take too much of your time, but this man, he wanted to be a Muslim, and the Prophet ﷺ told him that Islam and faith of Islam. He said to him the pillars of Islam: Shahada an la ilaha illallah, and Muhammad Rasulullah, Iqam as-salah, wa ita'i az-zakah, Sawm Ramadan, Tahujj al-Bayt. But then in this narration, the Prophet ﷺ, he said to him, وَأَن تُجَاهِدْ وَأَن تَتَصَدَّقَ مِنْ مَالِكَ, and that you have to fight for the sake of Allah with the Prophet ﷺ, and you have to give from your wealth. So the man said, Al-Ghazw, to fight. He said, I'm afraid that if I face this, that I will flee away. And I know that whoever flee away, he receives the anger from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's basically saying I'm scared. I don't like this one part, because I'm scared I won't be able to do it. I would flee away in the battlefield. And when it comes to the nafaqah, or to spend for the sake of Allah, he said, I only have 10 camels, so what else I can give? So the Prophet ﷺ, he kept extending his hand and putting and folding it back. He said, La jihad wa la sadaqa. No jihad and no sadaqa. No jihad, no sadaqa. What kind of Islam is this? So when the Prophet ﷺ said that, the man said, O Prophet of Allah, I give you the pledge of Islam with everything. Right? So they understood that when they say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, there's responsibilities that comes with it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it easy for them. From a distance, yes, it's difficult, but once the iman is in the heart, so this is the goal for the believers, is to establish the iman in the hearts, to be patient with the orders of Allah, because definitely the reward is the everlasting joy. And it's only temporary life. And at the moment of death, the zalim, the oppressor, he would wish that he never done any of this. Right? And that's why those who meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with them. This is the goal of this life. So once this is the concern, then things will fall in place, that seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And that gave them this brave in their hearts, and they were steadfast to the deen of Allah. Nuh alayhi salam, when he said to his people, قال يا قوم إن كان كبر عليكم مقامي وتذكيري بآيات الله فعلى الله توكلت فأجمعوا أمركم وشركاءكم ثم لا يكن أمركم عليكم غمة ثم قضوا إلي ولا تنظروا. Nuh alayhi salam, when he said to his people, basically the ayah that I put my trust in Allah, I rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So bring all of your partners and your people and your strength and come to me and don't wait. I don't feel anything of you whatsoever. Right? The dignity that they had in their hearts, that we as believers, if the believers, they do not fear anyone but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not that he just told them, I don't fear anyone but Allah. He said, take all your means and plots and everything. But what was the status of Nuh alayhi salam? Was he busy with the dunya and seeking the materialistic things of this life? He was calling them to the tawheed. This is why they had enmity towards him. And he was calling them with softness, with goodness, and for many, many years, 1,000 years minus 50. And this is what they did to him. And Hud alayhi salam, he said, فَكِيدُونِي جَمِيعًا ثُمَّ لَا تُنظِرُونَ. Plot all of you against me and do not wait. Why? He said, إِنِّي تَوَكَّلْتُ عَلَى اللَّهِ رَبِّي وَرَبِّكُمْ. The word that is always repeated, إِنِّي تَوَكَّلْتُ عَلَى اللَّهِ رَبِّي وَرَبِّكُمْ. I rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my Lord and your Lord. Because they have no power whatsoever. This is a matter of belief. If this belief is not in the heart, then the person needs to go back and review his belief and strengthen his belief and aqidah and so on, and then start to act. And once the heart is settled like this, the person will be able to act and to say. And that's why with patience and with this level of iman, a person should be extremely kind, as the Prophet ﷺ was in Mecca, for example. This is not a time for a person to be angry, for example, or this or that, but rather to be kind and to be patient and to convey the message of the deen of Islam, and not to be in the defensive, oh, we're good, we're this or that. No, we need to present this deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a great opportunity more than ever before. Why? Because everybody's talking about the deen of Islam. This is by itself is a great ni'mah from Allah. Even if it's a negative way, some people think it's a bad thing. No, actually it's a good thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed something, so it's definitely is good. So now it's the responsibility of the Muslims to convey the message in the right way and to seek help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to be like those who said these strong statements, the messengers of Allah. How the hearts were with matters of iman, away from sins, away from disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because this is how the goodness and the help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes when people are obedient to Allah. We bring the punishment of Allah on us when we are disobedient to Allah, when we turn away from the masajid, and this is why these tests are. In these types of situations, we find many people, they come to the masjid, for example. They are basically doing the total opposite of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. Is instead to fill the masajid, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to strengthen our iman, because this is the ways that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed on it. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the best.